your format of making videos is extremely captivating. Whenever when I'm scrolling through YouTube and I see one of your videos, I immediately get interested. I always click on the video. So, what are some of your inspirations towards that format?
Um, so in the broad scale, every writer. So if you're a video creator and you're a science communicator, to a great degree, you're a writer. You're trying to communicate. Sure, I'm speaking the written words, but it's about constructing a well-written piece of information. And every writer is a reader. I spend much more time reading than I do actually writing words. And I spend a lot of time watching different science media and listening to different science media in order to create what I create. So over time, yeah, I've definitely had some amazing inspirations. The radio show and podcast Radio Lab is, I'm certainly not the only person to find that inspiring, but the way that they have been able to experiment with different ways of telling stories, kind of what kinds of narratives and how do you introduce a question and when do you do it and how do you do it to really grab the reader, and how do you bring them on these emotional journeys, whether it's funny or sad along the way, and how do you richly paint a scene, because they don't even get to use pictures, they just have audio on this show, and how are you able to paint a picture and put the person into that environment. A truly amazing skill, and like anyone else, you can listen to a show like that over time and feel them experimenting and evolving. So that's a wonderful program. I love the show Ologies, another podcast with hosted by Ali Ward, because of its ability to maintain this pure childlike curiosity about every subject that she goes to interview experts about. And it's she does things in such a natural and engaging way, like you feel like you're sitting with your best friend. And I think trust and developing that relationship with the viewers as a friend is really important, and trying to keep that tone and that attitude is really inspiring. In video, the YouTubers that I'm lucky enough to count as friends today, I mean, they're also truly inspiring to me. People like Destin from Smarter Every Day, Derek from Veritasium, Hank Green, Henry from Minute Physics, Emily Grassley from the Brain Scoop, and many others. People I've worked with at PBS, like Diana, Physics Girl, Vanessa Hill. I mean, all of these people are great constructors of curiosity-driven videos that can do exactly what you said, to say there's a moment or a question or a thing that they show you that says, I have to sit here now and find the answer. You've given me no choice. And that is a skill in creating that takes practice and exercise, like many of the other things. Because we have to understand the ecosystem and the platform that we work in. On YouTube, there's like 12 things screaming for your attention at any one moment, just begging you to click away. And so what say someone would do in a long essay or a book, and kind of, or a movie saves its best parts for the end, for wrapping up the movie, for giving you the big payoff. I don't see the big Avengers battle to the end of the movie, but it's because I paid my money and I'm sitting in a seat and I'm not going to leave.
Yeah.
But we have to think of different ways to tell stories on YouTube, because I have to give you a reason to be curious and stay where you are in the first 30 seconds. And it makes us experiment with the storytelling techniques. So we all learn from each other's videos, and seeing what other people are doing, how they're holding the camera, how are they asking the question, and how are they structuring the video, and I think we're all taking each other's videos apart from time to time and seeing how they do and saying, oh, I could do that. And that's part of that is what's driven me to start diving deeper into questions. And videos are getting longer and longer, and it's extremely exciting for me. I get to go on these deep explorations and saying, I bet the audience will stick around and come with me because they want to learn deeper and deeper about these subjects too. It's been so fun to play with that about saying, all right, let's make deeper videos and try to learn everything we can about this instead of just one little facet of it.
Yeah. And I also think that the use of humor in your videos and not keeping it too serious also helps to build a very personal and close relationship with you and your audience, because then they get a sense of relatability and they enjoy watching the videos, which can help fuel their curiosity. And yeah,
Well, that is definitely helped by the fact that I'm a naturally hilarious person, so I couldn't do it any other way.
yeah,
Um, but a lot of that does come from what I mentioned about remembering the younger version of myself, and what would resonate with me, and that every communicator you want to drive, I think, to a place of authenticity, and to find your authentic voice
yeah,
is a challenge. It isn't instant for people to be able to find just the manner of speaking in your style. Are you someone who's prone to dramatic stories, or to uh, very funny kind of humorous stories, or are you kind of like the childlike curiosity, the oh wow kind of thing? uh, Finding that authentic voice is something that we've all journeyed on, and as communicators. And for me, I love to laugh, and I love to make people laugh, and I can't help it. I'm always in conversation, trying to insert little moments of humor, and et cetera, et cetera.
yeah,
So over the years, I've played with different styles of telling stories, like doing some dramatic ones and doing some very, all animated, emotional ones. And, they were fine, but they just didn't bring the same kind of fulfillment and feel as natural as when I'm like, you know what? Let's do some jokes. I understand memes. I get internet humor. I
yeah,
like funny movies and pop culture references. We're gonna put these in our videos, and that has been a lot of fun. And in fact, my next video is all I'm gonna say is it's very, very silly, even though it contains very real and serious science. It is absolutely ridiculous.
yeah. I think that helps a lot though, um, as well as getting people to click on it. It helps them also continue watching, to look forward to more jokes and also to learn what
I
you're
mean,
doing.
science is fun. Yeah, I mean, learning should put a smile on your face, one way or another. And it is. There's such an intimidation and weight uh, put on science in school, because it is a lot of very hard things, and they're very hard to hold.
Yeah,
Um, but the more things you can tie it to, like humor and art and music and history and all these other things that it intersects with, it helps you hold that heavy thing.
yeah,
And so, laughing is a great way to bring ease.
yeah. And I was curious about the title of your YouTube channel. So why is it called "It's Okay to Be Smart"? Isn't it well accepted?
Well, it continues to be better accepted every day, I hope. But there are anyone who is. Let me say. I'll say it this way. If you already feel that it's okay to be smart, and you feel like that's an obvious idea, then you are very lucky. Um, and that is something to be very thankful for, because there are so many people sitting in corners of classrooms or sitting at home who don't have that instilled in them, who aren't reminded, who don't have friends that share their interests, who don't have friends that they get to sit there and say, oh my gosh, did you hear about this new thing about relativity that I just learned? Let me explain it to you. And then they're all wide-eyed, just the same way that some kids are trading sports or video game stories. I mean, that's an amazing thing to have. and to get to experience or to get to tell your parents about that. But there's so many people who don't have that, who are sort of looking for that support and that encouragement around them. Even in our education system, I mean, people have incredibly different experiences in different schools depending on the resources of those schools. And so it's a constant reminder to say, this is a wonderful thing to aspire to. And you never reach the point of being fully smart.
Yeah.
But it's a worthwhile goal. But the way that it became the title was a little bit funny. The very first time that I started my website, like way back when I just started doing science writing, it was actually just like my name. It was just my personal blog page, but I had to put an image up top, to sort of the banner page. I was like, I should put like a motto up there, just to like, what's the first thing I want people to see when they come to the page to. And so I wrote that out. I was like, it's okay to be smart, everybody. It's fine. Not really intending it to be the title, but then everybody immediately started calling it that. And I was like, oh, well, I guess it's called that now. Mm-hmm. And then I never changed it. I've thought about changing it many times, but now it's way too late for that.
No, it's a catchy title. Catchy. Yeah. And one of your videos called Why is Blue So Rare in Nature did very well. So did you have any takeaways from that video, and did you do anything to improve from that point?
That video, yeah, I loved making that video. So that video actually grew out of seeing other people on YouTube try to answer the question. I'm like, that's a really cool, I've seen these butterflies before. If you've ever seen one of these blue butterflies, it's like, wow, an amazing color. I can see why this is, a really pretty thing to look at. It really catches the eye. And I was casually talking to a butterfly researcher one day. Actually, the researcher who's in the video, I just went on a visit to that museum because I happened to be there, and like, hey, can I, get anything cool to look at? He's like, actually, we have a ton of these blue morpho butterflies of all the different species. I was like, well, I've never seen the other ones. Maybe I'd love to see just sort of the big spectrum of what they look like, all the different species. So he pulls out all these drawers, and we get to talking, and I realized that everybody else who had done a video about this explained it wrong, like how it works. And I was like, oh, I didn't know it worked that really. This is really how it works. Everybody else thinks it works like this. And it was this amazing moment of like, wow, there's a secret here that nobody knows. And it's a little complicated, but we can definitely do it. So it really felt like opening this treasure chest of like, sure, there's other videos about the blue morpho butterfly out there, and I'm not going to name any names, but they're big YouTuber friends, and they did it. The answer was wrong, and it's such an amazing example of these little secret stories in science, and the way that like factual and good, and what sounds like good information is all logical and everything, and might apply to as an answer to something else, could be very different in the thing that you're specifically trying to answer. So, and that everyone who does this kind of thing needs to always be constantly updating our own information. Like, we're not perfect, and we have to, we're scientists, and if we're wrong, we learn from it, and we move on. So I was like, cool, I got a secret. And then I've been really practicing with macro photography, and trying to get those beautiful up close images. And I spent like 2 days with pinned butterflies out on tables, perfecting, trying to get those up close images of the scales, talking to butterfly and coloration researchers who do everything from feathers to fish scales to butterflies, and figuring out how the physics inside of that works. So butterflies are just something that we all see, right? It's common, and it feels almost like, oh, another butterfly. But to be able to unlock this deep secret of physics within that is one of those examples of finding the amazing in everyday life.
Yeah.
Everybody can find something. We've all seen a peacock feather. We've all seen some of these examples that are in there. I mean, sure, the sky is blue, and that's not uncommon. But in the living world, it's like as soon as somebody presents that question to you, you're like, you know what? You're right. There aren't that many blue things. Blueberries aren't even blue. They're like purple. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And that was really, really fun because it was able to intersect between different subjects too. And I think people like that because none of us are one-dimensional creatures that only want videos about space and only want to ask questions about physics and only want biology videos. Like, we all think about we're all curious about many different things. So to see how subjects overlap and intersect, I think was really cool for people too.
Yeah. And what do you think about the current situation of the COVID pandemic? And you made videos on it. So why was it so difficult to make a vaccine?
Well, I think for the vaccine question, I think we made the vaccine faster and more successfully than any other vaccine in history. And that's because the world applied every possible resource to supporting that, right? Governments, have a sort of a moon landing level of investment into the problem, right? But even then, like this was seriously fast.
Yeah.
And that is because, so I do view that as an amazing success. That is because scientists were ahead. They were 10 steps ahead. We didn't wait to support research until there was a problem. In the lab that I visited in my video about making the vaccine is a lab that has been studying coronaviruses for more than 10 years and has already knew about SARS and MERS and the related viruses. So they understood this family of viruses. They understood how it works. They didn't have to answer all those basic questions. They could immediately jump to how do we attack this one instead of we don't have to learn everything about it from scratch. And that's because we didn't wait for an emergency to support basic research.
Yeah.
We supported it along the way so that we were prepared, and we knew by uncovering what feels like just questions that might not have an application, suddenly they have the most important application, which is saving lives. And we were able to put that into action, within months, and as well as the mRNA portion of that. I mean, nobody had ever tried an mRNA vaccine, but people had been doing the basic research on that for years to figure out how to deliver them, how to get them to be expressed, and how to make the proteins that they need to make. And so these things came together because people were prepared. And I hope we continue to do that instead of saying, okay, we solved this one, everybody pack it up, shut down the operations, and then we've solved the problem, because this won't be the last time we have to solve a problem like this.
And can you tell us about which video was your proudest one, and which one was your most fun? Which video was the most fun to make?
Oh, this is like picking one of my children. I mean, the proudest video, some of the stuff that I did for COVID last year, between the vaccine video or being able to show how masks work or describe how people should think about the pandemic. These are videos that, from the feedback I've gotten, I know really made important differences to people. Yeah. People are able to share them with relatives and friends who didn't have all of the information that they needed to make decisions or had some misconceptions, and were able to keep each other safe. And I think, not only keep people healthy, but maybe even save some lives. If that occurred, then I mean, because of something that I made, is the most fulfilling thing possible. It's incredible. So that is a real moment of pride in what I've made. In terms of what has been the most fun, I've been able to go to some amazing places as part of this work. You know, being in the Amazon rainforest, being on a glacier in Alaska, but going to the monarch butterfly migration forest in Mexico a couple of years ago. That was truly magical. I've seen them fly through my yard on their migration, you know, for years and years and years, because I'm lucky enough to live on that migration path, and to see the end of that story where they all go, things I'd only seen in pictures before, is a sensory experience about what you can hear and what you can see when you're there on the ground. That's unforgettable. That's just so lucky to be able to have an opportunity like that. On the other end of things, the video I got to make about why there are 7 days in a week was probably the most fun I've had making a video. That started out as a very simple question that you would think would have a very direct answer. We all have a 7-day week. Somebody must have written a book about it, and it's a very clear answer. We all know. We can just tell that story, and it'll take a few weeks to put that video together, and then we're done. Yeah. That took like 6 months to find all of the information, because no one was really, it's so old of a question, it's so old of a custom, that no one's entirely sure when it started and for what reasons. And to be able to explore all of the different angles of that, and still to come to a point at the end of the video where we're like, we're not entirely sure, and to get people okay with that even as an answer, and to do it in the silly way we got to do it, was incredibly fun. I like to get to play around and play weird characters sometimes.
Yeah. And have you ever visited India for one of your videos?
Not for one of my videos, but I have visited India. I've been to Bangalore. I did some work there a few years ago, and may go back in the future if there's more work to do. I love it. It was amazing.
We'd love to have you here with a live audience when travel becomes a lot safer.
The next time I go to India, I will do that. You have my word.
Yeah. So that's all. Thank you so much for taking the time off to speak with me. And this interview has been one of the most interesting and fun interviews I've ever done. And yeah, I wish you all the best with all your other videos and all your work ahead. And yeah, thank you again.
Thank you so much. Great questions, and really great to talk to you.
Yeah, and also one more thing. Your outro is very iconic. So can you say it for us?
Oh, all right. Stay curious.